right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Rhythm Section Podcast. Again, you can check us out at therhythmsectionpod.com. You got Jeff Ward with me with the much better looking backdrop than mine. Mine is a blurry bedroom. And joining us today is Mr. Rick Forbes. How are you, Rick?
Fine. How are y'all?
Good. You know, again, back to one of the benefits of being on Zoom is, you know, our guest coming in today has a great backdrop with guitars hanging on the wall. He's got a guitar strapped around him right now. How cool is that? You know, and I would gather, I'm just going to guess, there's a chance that it's probably plugged in, right? See, that's what I'm talking about. You can't do that at the studio. But all right, Rick, thanks for being here, man. How are you today?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good. Where are you? And are you snowed in? Are you safe?
I'm safe. Yeah, I'm in East Memphis at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, down here in old DeSoto County.
Oh yeah.
We didn't plan as well as Shelby County. It appears. But
well, I've got a couple people down there, so yeah, I'm hip with what's going on. Pretty. Besides, you got the worst end of it, really.
Yeah. Well, then you go further south. Oxford just a mess. So we got lucky there, but. Good deal.
I saw Rick Friday night. He came by Knuckleheads for a little while and caught some of the Gen X show. So I appreciate that, Rick. The support is always appreciated.
Yeah, it was fun.
Very cool. Yeah.
Cold, but fun.
Yeah, cold. I was there for the first set, so I was warmer. I understand it got very cold afterwards.
It sure did.
Well, Rick, you know, as far as I know, as far as following you on Facebook, you're currently with Amber McCain, correct? Are you guys still working?
Yeah, I'm with Amber McCain, and I'm also with a band called Spectrum. And I spent about 3 years with Jared Price's Almost Elton John, and I still do pick up subs with him.
Okay. Very cool. So you know my friend Walter Polk?
Yep.
Yeah,
I do.
Man.
Walter plays in every tribute band in the city.
I know. And I'm blessed to be in one of them with him. I'm in Pulse with him. So I now I'm getting an opportunity to play with him, and yeah, he's great. You know, he's a fun guy. He plays and acts like a much younger man than he really is. It's great.
Yeah, because he's one of the only people working that's older than me. Yeah.
I'm going to tell him you said that.
As opposed to me, I play like I'm a much older man than I actually am.
So, are you originally from Memphis?
You know, not really, but I've been here so long, I might as well be.
Yeah.
Sure.
I've been here since '76.
Okay.
But I was 18 when I came.
Okay. Were you a musician then? Were you jumping into the scene?
Yes, but I'm an Army brat, so you know that's why I was all over the place until my father retired when I was 18, and we came here because this is where his family's from, so this is where we settled.
Okay. And
I've left several times. I've gone to Florida. I've gone to San Antonio, Texas, but I always seem to come back.
Just sucks you right back in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When did you start playing?
Florida sounds really good right now, by the way.
Yeah. But I got really tired of Florida when I was there. It was like just variations of one season.
Yeah.
You know, it was hard to take.
I did see a weather report the other day. I think Miami got down into the 20s.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. People there would be totally freaking out.
Yeah, they don't know what to do.
No.
So by the time you get to Memphis, you're already a musician of how many years? Like how?
Well, I had been playing guitar at that point only about 4 or 5 years. Well, not really. I mean, I started playing guitar when I was 10. I started playing saxophone when I was 11. The saxophone was my primary instrument until the early 70s. And then after I attended a couple of rock concerts, I decided that the guitar was much more where I was going than saxophone was. So I swapped and started playing guitar exclusively at that point.
What were those concerts? Who'd you go see?
Well, everybody that was around back then. I mean, I saw this was the heyday of the classic rock era. Yeah. So the guy that probably inspired me the most was Gary Richrath of REO Speedwagon, because every time he played, he looked like he was just having a ball. He was perpetually smiling. He just looked like he was having the time of his life, and that was very appealing.
Nice, sure. Yeah.
But I also saw, of course, Led Zeppelin, Styx, Journey, Foreigner. You know, everybody that was coming up through that day.
I mean, it's hard to for me, because, I wasn't around at that time, to fathom that, that was your modern contemporary music at the time.
That's right.
It's just crazy to think.
It was not classic rock.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
It just makes you realize, wow, what an era. I mean,
Yeah. But man, it was so long ago,
Yeah.
Somebody pointed out the difference between now and the 70s was approximately the same difference of the 70s and the 20s.
Yeah.
And like when I was a teenager in the 70s, the idea of listening to music from the 20s would have just been crazy. And yet there are still a lot of young people today that are listening to the music from the 70s. Not enough of them, but a lot of them.
Yeah.
Well, now the stuff that I grew up on in the 80s is classic rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes the 70s stuff extra classic rock.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like, in comic book years, you've got the golden, the silver, and the bronze era.
Yeah.
I think we need some kind of distinction for classic rock, too, because you can't put the Beatles in the same category as Guns N' Roses. And Guns N' Roses are at the tail end of classic rock to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. And, I don't think teenagers in the 70s were listening to Benny Goodman ripping clarinet solos, right?
No.
Like, such a huge jump.
When you were at your grandma's house watching Lawrence Welk, maybe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Cool. Well, you get to Memphis. You're, a seasoned veteran at this point at 18 years old. And,
Right.
Do you find yourself, and I would gather you're probably done school, right? Have you done graduated or, so.
Yes. I had just graduated high school. I mean, like days before.
Yeah. So how quick is it before you're in a band? Like what's that early Memphis scene like for you?
It wasn't that long. But the job that I had, I worked a swing shift. And so that was in the way. So I had to quit the job. It was a good paying union job, but I couldn't play when, each week I worked a different time. So I had to go. So, I walked out without a plan and then found myself in a band probably within just a few months, and then never really quit. I took a brief hiatus after I was in a band one time for 10 or 11 years, and everybody started growing up and having kids and all that. So it just got kind of troublesome to get together. So I took a little while off and then came back with a different plan.
Nice. So in that first band, were you playing Benny Goodman by any chance?
No, we were playing, let's see, Montrose, Scorpions.
Nice.
But again, that's modern music at that time, right?
Yeah, that was new stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of it might have been 2 or 3 years old, but it was all pretty much new stuff. It's funny because I've been in so many bands through that era where we were playing Journey's newest release, things like that.
Man, what a time.
It was a crazy time.
Yeah. Now it's like, what's the newest AI song that we can cover? Right.
Right. There's still some pretty good new stuff out there, but the problem is nowadays you have to look for it. Back then, it to you, and you had very finite outlets also. Like, you might have one really good rock station in the town. I lived outside of St. Louis. We had KSHE. And so that was where all of my music came from during that era. And coming down here, we had Rock 103. So everything pretty much spoon fed to you. You're getting the music. And now radio is essentially dead. People stream and they may listen to Sirius, but even then you don't have the same thing going out to you that everybody else in the country does, like you do with corporate radio. Yeah. So you have to look for the good music on YouTube it, or, I give lessons 4 days a week. So I'm in touch with a lot of kids. And so they get me hip to a lot of stuff. They'll suggest things, and I've heard a lot of good music that I did not know it existed. 11-year-olds.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of these record labels look at TikTok numbers and social reach, and they already have an audience. Let's sign them. That's the new way now. Like, and then old songs get revived, like Kate Bush from Stranger Things. A song that she released back in the early 80s all of a sudden became a new hit for her. And it went back up the charts and everything because of a show in it. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that. I think about Come and Get Your Love that was in Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. That old song by Redbone. And if that had not been in that movie, nobody would know that song. And yet right now, because of that movie, everybody knows that song.
Yeah. Which is great. Cool.
The soundtrack for Guardians of the Galaxy was just great. There was tons of great music on that.
Yeah, and it was all very popish for the most part,
Yeah.
compared to when they were new. Because
Right.
and I personally like good pop music. I'm not a snob at all. I like good pop.
Yeah.
But back then, during the 70s, when I was listening to Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, and Led Zeppelin, these were the songs that were primarily on the AM radio station. Again, in St. Louis, we had KXOK. That was the more pop station, the AM pop station. So, and I listened to both of them.
Wow. It's weird how you get these awesome classic rock bands known for also great sonic sound, and they're on AM. It's like, when FM really started becoming a bigger thing, that must have been awesome to have that fidelity.
I am old enough to remember my first FM radio, for sure. I do.
Yeah.
And, and when I first discovered FM music too, because it was like going from black and white to color TVs,
Sure.
which I also remember, by the way. That was like 1966 or 67 when Bewitched, Gilligan's Island, Batman, I Dream of Jeannie, all those shows went color,
Yeah.
And color TV, you had to find a friend that did so you could go watch Batman at his house.
Yeah.
Zap,
for
pow,
me,
boom.
when you start talking late 60s, I instantly go to automobiles. And Derrick knows this about me. That was the era of amazing muscle cars.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Probably about 71, maybe.
Yeah.
So when FM breaks out like that, FM was known to almost be like the indie side of things, where now they're playing album cuts. They're not playing single releases. What was that like? That must have been great, because now, like you just said earlier, like back then they fed you the music. So now FM is in there, and now they're feeding you the non-singles. That had to have been huge for these bands as well, because they're definitely not doing that anymore. No one's spinning a B-side from even like a Bruno Mars album, right? Like even he's not getting that kind of love. It is a single, it's a hit, and that's what you're going to get.
Oh, it was very cool, because I remember even some DJs would even tell you, start your tape recorders now, and they'd spin the whole entire album. And people would go to reels back then, and they would take the whole thing off the radio like that. I don't think it hurt album sales. I mean, that's a far cry from what streaming is doing today compared to physical product.
Yeah.
I think that's I still actually buy CDs when I can.
There you go.
Just maybe 1.5 pennies in somebody's pocket.
A decimal of a penny, right? Yeah. Sadly, I don't even have a way to play a CD. And like
I still have CD players. My car doesn't. And my last car, which I think it had the right idea. My car had the stereo system had a built-in hard drive. And so when you buy a CD, you just put it in there, and it would put it on the hard drive. Then you take the CD out, put it back in the house, and then you traveled with it all the time. That was a great idea. I don't know why all cars don't come that way.
Oh wow, no! I remember the old days of having my portable CD thing, and then with the cassette into the dash, and it's skipping as you're going down the road, and then and you have that giant Trapper Keeper full of CDs, and they're all scratched, and the good old days,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people, I had a car that had before this was all more common. I had a car that had a 10 CD carousel in the trunk.
Oh, so wow!
You could vary your listening from inside the car without having to pull the CD out and put it back in. It was all done back there.
Yeah.
These things were stock. People were trying. I even remember turntables for your car. Now that was a horrible idea. Someone tried it, but it absolutely didn't work.
Right.
I've heard of 8-tracks in cars, but not turntables.
Oh no, everybody had an 8-track. My car in high school definitely had an 8-track. It wasn't stock because my car was from the mid '60s, but I put one in it just like everybody else did.
Real quick, what is that noise? I want to make sure.
It's a bird.
Parakeet.
Okay. Then we got to let the bird sing, right? But I just
he's real happy, and a lot of times if I'm playing, he sings along. And you can tell he likes some songs better than others just by his response.
So to those watching and listening, if you're wondering what that sound is, now you know.
It's Chase the parakeet.
What's his name?
Chase.
What's up, Chase? Man,
and he's actually in another room, so
okay.
He carries. Yeah, Chase is giving us some noise here.
Oh my God, Chase, watch out! There's a squirrel coming. Watch out. Growing up, side note, growing up, my mom and I had parakeets, and we let them fly freely. It was crazy, and messy, very messy.
Well, he'd probably like that, but the cat would like it better.
Oh, so you have a cat. Yeah, that cat's like just waiting for that to happen. But
yeah, they get nose to nose in the cage and scare each other down.
That's awesome.
Now, going back to the radios we were talking about with the turntables, I had a buddy in high school that had, you know how everybody had the big boom boxes they carried around. Well, he had a boom box with a turntable in it.
Wow, that is amazing.
How does that work?
I have a turntable.
You hit a button, the turntable slid out, put the record on it, it would go back.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't carry it on your shoulder walking down the street with that.
No, you had to sit it down and have it stationary for the record to work.
Yeah.
And it was the only one that I ever saw.
Yeah.
But don't know how popular it was.
It's not hooked up, but I do own a turntable still, and I still have hundreds of albums.
Yeah, it's come back around full circle now. People are back into that whole thing.
Yeah, but you know what? I hate to be the detractor from that, but I still think the audio quality was better on CDs. People talk about how warm the analog is, and maybe, but the disadvantages are pretty big too. You know, you had a noise floor that you couldn't go beneath without getting sound, and with digital audio like CDs, you don't have that problem. So you have a lot more dynamics. You'd have quieter passages, louder passages, and albums. Everything had to fit within a certain region.
Sure.
And plus, they're extremely fragile. Yeah. One person steps on the floor hard, and then for the rest of your life, when you hear that song, you'll get so acclimated to hearing that scratch. And when the song comes on the radio, you anticipate the scratch. It doesn't happen.
And this comes up too when we're talking the old school days. You know, now trying to learn a song, we have so many tools that are at our fingertips. Back then, you had to just keep moving that needle back to the damn bridge, right?
And putting it on 16.
Oh, so that slowed it down?
Yeah, slowed it down right at half speed, which meant that the pitch was still correct, but an octave off. Oh. And so you could like, you know, those early Van Halen records, I remember slowing it down to half speed and trying to figure out what was going on. Of course, he already tuned down a half step, and then you'd have to fine tune it to that. So there was 2 or 3 steps involved, but it was all we had.
Yeah, exactly. You just. Which is why y'all probably had much stronger ears now.
Yeah, I advise kids all day about not relying too much on YouTube. Remember, I give lessons Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I'll tell them use YouTube if you're in a pinch, if you have to learn 20 songs by the weekend for a gig or something. But before you do that sounded loud.
Was that the kid
in there? Okay.
Oh, I thought that was the cat attacking.
No, cat's in there too.
We thought Chase had met his end.
He's still singing merrily back there. Yeah.
So where do you teach? Promote? You know, are you taking new students? Where are you at?
I could probably take 1 or 2, but I'm essentially full, which is always a blessing. Monday I teach at Yarbrough's Music. That's the only time I teach off of the schools, and then Tuesday I'm at Christ Methodist Day School. Wednesday, I'm at Presbyterian Day School, and Thursday, I'm back at Christ Methodist. So it's PDS and Yarbrough's Music.
Okay, cool.
I've been giving lessons for many, many years, 35 years or so.
Nice.
A lot of the local guys in town took lessons with me, either for briefly or for long periods of time. So it's nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, you've met all kinds of people for sure.
Tons, and a lot of the working players out there today have taken lessons with me, so it's kind of cool.
Good deal. So you're back again. Let's go back in time here, if you will. Hey, Jeff, pun intended, back in time. But we know from interviewing people like Debbie Jameson and Dave Smith and Gene Nunez that there was a huge studio scene in Memphis when it came to jingles. Even just it was just work available in the studio. Did you tap into any of that back then?
I did not. I pretty much missed that. When I got to Memphis, the biggest problem I had was I had no network because I came from, Illinois.
Right.
And so I didn't really have the network, and I had to start pretty much at ground zero, meeting people and working my way up. And then that studio scene died out fairly quickly with computers. Once people, and I did too, I had, what program did I use? Cakewalk. I had Cakewalk, and so did everybody else. And and it just got better and better and better. So no, I missed all that. And my thing in Memphis has always been more of an instructor than anything. Now I've always tried to maintain a playing profile at the same time, because when you give lessons full time, the one comment you always hear that I hate is those who can't do teach. And so I would make sure that I was out playing somewhere in the community to validate that I was teaching.
Yeah.
Now the band that I was in the longest was one that nobody ever heard of. And we were an instrumental contemporary jazz thing. And we did that for 10 years. We were called Pacific Flight. There's very, very few recordings available, but there's still some people that have a little bit on that band. But we had a booking agent, and the booking agent didn't want to lower our value by having us play in bars, because we mostly played, we played fashion shows, golf tournaments, society events. We played for the Bells down in the pit at the Orpheum. We played at the University Club tons. But still nobody knew us because we weren't at, Hadley's or Sidecar or Neil's or Lafayette's. Yeah. And so when that ran its course, and it paid well, by the way. And so, it's kind of like, well, and we worked a lot. We were the house band at Peabody for a long time. Then we were the house band at several other places, other hotels and things like that, casinos, etc. We were at, not Horseshoe, but it's one that's closed now. But, then after all that ran its course, I came back and I decided that I wanted to play in something that was a little more accessible to, people that like music. Because when we played for those gigs, you really weren't playing for an audience. You were more like a decoration. You really weren't. People really weren't paying much attention to you. They were their thing. And when you're in the clubs, at least people usually know what band it is and what's going on, who they are. Yeah. When I played with Jared or Amber, people are there to see Jared or Amber. Right. When I was in Pacific Flight, people were there to do anything but listen to the band.
Yeah, you were background music. Yeah,
background music, and it was extremely difficult music too. So it was background music that required a lot of diligence to be able to do. A lot of practice, a lot of rehearsal, a lot of time learning. And the only thing that was good about it was it paid well. And of course, the musical learning. I mean, you play that kind of music, you're going to get better somehow. It may not be immediately visible, but you're getting better at something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are there bands out there still doing that similar work? It just seems like
I think
so much work has dried up.
Yeah, it has, but they'd be doing it in the same kind of venues as us. When I started that band, everybody said, you guys will never work. There's no market for it. And I said, well, I think there is. And I told somebody else, I gleaned most of the set list from the Weather Channel because I figured most people watch the Weather Channel. That was back then. And the Weather Channel had all this great music. I heard songs from Still Life Talking by Pat Metheny, and I heard Alone But Never Alone by Larry Carlton. I heard all these things on the Weather Channel, and so that was where our set list came from.
Wow.
And we actually had gigs before we even had a band name. So I was shocked. I was surprised. And but they were not the gigs that most musicians think about. Most musicians look at the bar scene, and that's what I'm dealing with right now, and that's where I want to be. But then, there were all these strange gigs that, I'm telling you, the easiest gig I ever did was at a fashion show. And we came in there with 4 sets of material, and the person that was running it, we were set up right by the catwalk, and the person that came up and said, no, we don't want whole songs. She said, we just want walking music. She said, can you repeat 4 to 8 bars of a song, one for spring, one for summer, one for fall, one for winter, for each of the lines of clothing that they were promoting. And so, we played a total of 16 measures of music and got paid well for it.
Nice.
That's what I'm talking about.
That was, and so I think that kind of work is still out there, but
you guys need to get the Victoria's Secret catwalk. That would be
there. You go.
Yeah, I don't know if that one's available.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like Jeff and I need to get our jazz chops up. That's what I'm saying.
It really does.
Well, it was not straight jazz. It was we didn't play bebop or swing or anything like that. It was pretty much stuff that back then UMR, the radio station that they had at the university. And so they also were playing a lot of the same kind of music. So I figured there was an audience. It was just a matter of finding the audience, and we didn't have to because I talked to one booking agency while we were getting our set list practiced out. It did take a lot of rehearsal, more than most rock bands. We rehearsed 3-4 nights a week until we were ready. And but an agent immediately jumped on it and said, "I got some work for you guys." So I was surprised, and everybody that said we couldn't do it was even more surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. That's great. And like you said earlier, you touched on the learning of that material was also a benefit like that. Yes, it was good work, good pay. But yeah, that's challenging stuff.
Challenging stuff and zero visibility, so if you were wanting to get into some other aspect, it really wasn't helping you at all. Bar work is much better for that. And, I've done a lot of odd musician work in the 80s. A guy that worked with Willie Mitchell said that Willie was looking for somebody to transcribe his catalog. And could I do that? And I said, yeah. And I said, just find out whatever the bids are and just bid me less. And that was probably I was probably averaging $1 an hour. This was before computers. So I had to take white out and blank out every other stave. And then I had to use a ruler and a pencil to draw the quarter notes, half notes, eighth notes, etc. And then I typewrite underneath it to type the lyrics that corresponded to the melody, and then put the chord symbols up above it. And this was all done by hand, so it was extremely tedious. And it took me a long time, but I did his entire back catalog. Every week I'd go and I'd turn in all that I'd finished. He'd give me a new cassette and money, and then that would go on back and forth. We did it, but that was also super good for understanding the music, seeing how the melody is playing against the chords, seeing how that's arrangements. And his arrangements were very long. These were not 3-minute songs. So, even if you used repeats and first and second endings and codas and del segnos and all this other stuff, it still could be 4 or 5 pages. So it was tremendous work, and it was grossly underpaid. But I did do it, and I did finish, and I'm very glad I did.
Yeah, it sounds just like my scratch chord charts that I make for myself. It's like only I can read them. That's it.
Right.
It's in my language.
Well, I would start out with a rough draft like that, and then I'd have to go back with the ruler to make sure all my lines were straight and draw my flags in correctly. I've still got all of that. I kept it all. I kept a copy for myself just because.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's work.
You were talking earlier kind of about the wide range of music that you've dealt with, and I just want to give a shout out to Spectrum, because I've seen you guys a couple of times, and you play music all over the spectrum. It is a wide variety. So if you go see Spectrum, you will definitely hear something you like.
Yeah, and we're pretty fussy about most of the things we play were hits at one point or another. And we play from, I think we do the Zombies from the 60s. Yeah. We're pretty heavy on Steely Dan. We do a lot of Steely Dan just because we like it. Yeah. And Matchbox 20, again, just because, that's a band that I think is so good that people underestimate all the time.
Agreed.
They're very clever, very crafty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also play Plain White Tees, and we're a lot of the stuff is from the same era as Jeff, but we're much closer to the pop side of things. Bowling for Soup, these kind of guys. We're not playing the Seattle stuff. We're playing the equivalent of what would be pop rock at the time.
Right. That's cool. You mentioned Bowling for Soup. I have just recently been turned on to who that is, and talking about young people and where you hear music come from. My son grew up watching Phineas and Ferb, and the theme song to that cartoon is Bowling for Soup.
Wow. Yeah. It's like our generation. A lot of the theme songs we sing came from, what's this guy? The guy from Devo, Mother's Bow. Yeah. And if you see his name on a lot of kids programming shows.
Right.
Okay.
And a lot of this music also comes from video games. My son is a huge gamer, and he would come to me and say, "Dad, listen to this song." And I'm like, "That's really cool. Where did you hear that?" "Oh, I was playing whatever video game."
I was in the middle of killing people. Right. And this awesome song came on.
I hear that a lot from kids, and it's always, I really wish that they listened more to music, but man, I hear a lot of, and they're very specific too. Can you teach me the closing credits song to the 23rd season of One Piece? And I look it up and I'm like, no, that's not the right one. I'm like, do they change it every year? And he said, yeah.
All right, well, let's learn every year then. Come on, let's just cover the whole spectrum.
And the thing is, most of it is not doable. I mean, most of it has so many details in it.
So much production.
Right, but it's just really not doable for a guy with a guitar to do unless he's got 2 or 3 other guitar friends and a couple keyboard players and a full range of vocalists on hand.
Yeah,
which is what determines a lot of what most bands play too. It's hard to play everything live because you just don't have the pieces or the range or whatever.
Think of the musical soundtrack behind Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barbera, like just one Tom and Jerry episode. That orchestra was along with their running or whatever frantic thing they're going through, down, up. That's an insane amount of composition for a cartoon.
And great players.
Yeah. And now they don't have that because you can do it all on a computer.
Well, now you got AI. It's a prompt.
Right.
That's how creative how can I creatively describe what I want? That's now songwriting with AI.
Yeah.
So we got Spectrum. What kind of venues will we find Spectrum at? And, how often are you guys out there?
Well, we play at the typical venues that everybody else does. We play the Sidecars, the TJ Mulligans. We played at Neshoba. We played at Neil's. We played at...
I saw you at Lafayette's.
Yeah, Lafayette's. I mean, we play the typical places that everybody else plays. Yeah. And we play as often as we can, but since me and Shane play with Amber and John plays with Jared, I used to play with John when we played with Jared, but that's 2 fairly busy bands there. And then Robert, the drummer, he plays in an original heavy metal band. So, they play periodically also. So it's hard for us to schedule. I was looking at the calendar today, and on any given month, we may have 1 or 2 days where it looks like everybody's available. And even, when you narrow it down, you make some calls. It's like, no, I just hadn't updated the calendar yet or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I wish we played more because I really like the music that Spectrum plays. I mean, I think it's pretty fresh and I think it's pretty different and I like it. And I wish I could play it more often. As a matter of fact, the gig that we didn't do Saturday, right here on the set list that we were going to play. And I had to rehearse all this material because we haven't played since, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. And the mind slips in 3 or 4 weeks. You forget details. And a lot of these songs have a lot of details.
Yeah. Now,
Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of the most difficult songs we play. And it's so deceptively because it sounds like it's got to be one of the easiest. But it's so full of nuance and dynamics that it's not easy to pull off.
Yeah.
There's Stacy's Mom, some Don't Take Me Alive by Steely Dan, Mad Season by Matchbox 20. I mean, it's all of them.
Yeah, that Tears for Fears song, Jeff, you would know. Like, I think you remember telling me that you had to learn that for, I believe, was it formerly known as? You were
I did.
That? And it's got that weird hi-hat. Well, honestly, I think when they made it, it was multi-tracked and layered. And,
it was.
But in order to copy that in real time as a human being, it's tricky.
It's difficult.
And that probably goes to I know that Robert has spoken about the drum parts. And to me, the guitar solo, at the end of the guitar solo, the first guitar solo, it even sounds like it was spliced together a point because there's a jump that just does not feel at all natural from a guitar point of view. So, and it might have been played that way live. I don't know because, you can splice so clean that you can't tell. But it's definitely, you got to work for that one to make it sound right. And I'll tell you that I tell people that all the time because a lot of people that I know they speak ill of pop music as though it's really easy because maybe they come from a harder edged background like I do. But I'm like, you know what? Pop music is hard to do well. Maybe it's only 3 or 4 chords, but that's not the entirety of being able to effectively portray a song. There's so much more to it.
Yeah.
And to take that, She Loves You, Yeah, Yeah, Yeah by the Beatles, for instance, to make that sound authentic is not nearly as easy as you'd think it is.
No, it's not.
The song that just popped into my brain as we're talking Tears for Fears is Simple Minds. Don't you forget about me. That is such a new one. And I love that song. We all do. But it's why we love it is because of every little ounce of that production. And I've heard some cover bands try it and they make they put a good effort forward for it and they sound okay. But
I think we kill it. We do that song.
You do that song?
Yeah, we do that song, and you can find us doing it on YouTube, I think, or on Facebook. But I think we do it very, very well. And
cool.
I saw Matchbox 20 do that as an encore, and they played it with a little more energy, but they still kept the spirit of the song. So that was kind of the thing that I kept going when we brought it in. I don't play that one. I play a lot of things note per note, by the way, but that one I do not. That one I embellish, especially the chords. Some songs you can get away with that, and some songs you can't. You guys are both players, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But the other thing that's odd is sometimes you have to play a song not note per note to make it sound note per note. Because there's so much production and layering in there that if you just chose one of those 2 or 3 recording parts to play, it's not going to be convincing. You're going to have to find a way to make it sound correct.
Well, you as the guitar player, of course you know this. You're learning a song and you're like, wow, there's 5 guitar tracks all doing different things. You have to blend them all, don't you? So throughout, you're keeping all the different signature parts throughout. I can imagine
and
that's
sometimes you have
frustrating.
to change the energy because a song can be very spare and is utilizing a lot of space. And in the studio, that space can be real effective, but in a live bar, sometimes that space just sounds empty. So you have to up the energy level, and you can play something correct, but if you don't play it with the right energy, it doesn't sell. And that's all the nuance that I was talking about in pop music. You can play a G chord for 4 beats and the C chord for 4 beats or whatever, but you've got to match the spirit of the song. That's it, the spirit of the song. And if you can pull that off, then you've done it correctly. And it's not always easy. Like you said, that Simple Minds song. We punched that one up quite a bit, especially the first time it goes to the C, G, D, A thing. Because he's playing, will you think about it? Call my name and never love me. But I think I probably pull out every embellishment I can think of every time we do that song. And I usually do it a little bit different each time too. So I like it.
That is such a brilliant song. I mean, you can take someone who's never heard that song and play it for them one time and they love it.
Yeah. And the energy of that song is awesome, man. I mean, by the end of that song, it is banging.
And I'll tell you another great one from a similar era is Aha. Take on Me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Have
you heard the acoustic version of that?
Yes.
I have not.
Man, it is so good.
They slow it down and they
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the singer, that really high part, he kind of finds a different line because I don't think he can hit it anymore, but he makes it work so beautifully. Yes, I've seen that.
And the instrumentation is very spare, but much more embellished. Not so much block 80s style, but it's like they're flowing a little more freely with the way that they embellish the chords and the voice lead and all that. Yeah. It's really done well.
Yeah, look it up, Jeff. You'll like it.
I will. They got so much credit for the music video and that being kind of a groundbreaking thing that unfortunately I think sometimes the music kind of got overlooked because of the video. But I thought the music was just stellar.
Yeah. There was, during that era, I wasn't listening to all of that as much. I was more listening to Skid Row and
me too.
Pipeline, all those guys. But then a little bit after that era, I went back and I started listening to all of that, to Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Oingo Boingo and Tears for Fears and Kaja Goo Goo and all of those guys. And, there was some really, really good stuff there. And it was fresh at the time. It was very, very fresh. It was huge deviation from what was becoming classic rock of the 70s.
Right. Yeah, you and I are very similar in that, Rick. I knew of that music at that time, but I was much more interested in Skid Row and Motley Crue and all that stuff. So the pop took a back seat, and I went back and revisited it later and just fell in love with it.
Yeah. It's and we do a fair amount of that. We do Simple Minds, we do Tears for Fears, we do Thomas Dolby. I mean,
great.
So, and we just got that song, Blinded Me with Science. It's got some very cool stuff in it. So, I'm glad that there's not a lot of people doing what we do.
You may be the only ones here doing what you do. I don't know of another band
but they're still all hits. They're still huge hits. One thing, we don't do anything we do one obscure song, and we don't even do that every gig. And it's by a fairly new band called Goose. They're kind of a jam band. And I say, I don't know how old they are, but we do So Ready by them, which is a very cool song. But that's one that I don't think most people know. Normally when we play a song, people instantly know what it is within the first few bars. But that one, maybe not. Hopefully they like it all the same, though.
Yeah, I've never heard of Goose.
Yeah.
Neither.
Yeah.
I hadn't either. the singer brought it up because a friend of his brought it up. So, we all listened to it and said, yeah, that's a really cool song. So,
cool.
It's got some really good playing in it. It's a lot of detail, it doesn't syncopate the first time, but it does the second time. And 3 of the chords are on the end of the beat, but the fourth chord changes on the beat. It's little details like that. And that's, that stuff is fun.
Yeah. Well, so to change gears a little bit, we've covered classic rock, jazz. Benny Goodman came up, all these different artists and eras and everything. Let's talk country now, because you've been with Amber McCain now probably a few years now. It seems like just yesterday.
Probably going into the third year, I think.
Third year, because Bruce Key used to be the guy, and I remember there was a change and a switch, and that seems like it was last year, but it wasn't. It's been a minute.
While. Yeah.
It's been a hot minute now. So tell us about that. How you got involved and got the spot with Amber McCain.
Somebody just called me and asked me if I was interested, and I was still playing with Jared and I was still playing with Spectrum, and I said, send me a set list and let's see what I think about it. And I listened to it, and Jared was about ready to take a sabbatical at that point. Okay. So I thought this is a good time to make a jumping off time, because Jared wanted to take a break, and I wasn't ready to break yet. So, I said, sure, I'm in. What do I got to do to further this idea? So they said, we'll come down and play a few of the songs. And I think I came down and played 10 or 15 of her songs and started gigging immediately.
Had you played it much country prior to this?
None. None. But I liked country guitar playing, and I have no proficiency at it, by the way. I know a few stereotypical, that kind of thing. And so I didn't really have a country background, but I was like, as long as it's not insane, I can cut it. And most of the stuff that she does is modern girl country, Carrie Ann Wood, stuff like that. So so the playing is not Brent Mason on the session,
right.
So,
not many are.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that stuff leans heavily on rock.
Yeah, it does. As a matter of fact, I listened to that station, The Wolf, once or twice, and there's a song that came on that we came to cover with Amber McCain Band. She was already covering it, but I'd never heard of it. It's called Bartender. And I was listening to it, and I was like, what's so country about this? That sounds like a Les Paul, a Marshall, and a strong backbeat.
Absolutely.
That's a rock and roll recipe if ever there was one, except for the fact that she's, twanging.
Right.
Other than that. So I think a lot of these songs, if you took the vocals out, it would cross over into rock and pop pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, we pick on Jason Aldean all the time, but it's a prime example of the male-fronted side of country. Yeah, it's a rock band. That's a rock band that, okay, let's throw a little banjo line in the background, or let's add some steel. And then the singer has a southern accent. There you go. It's country.
Yeah. Mention a pickup truck and some beer.
There you go. That's exactly right. Doesn't hurt if you put dog in there too.
Yeah.
So our friend Tony Meharry used to be in Amber McCain. I know that was another change.
He was the one that called me.
Okay. So who do you have on drums now?
George Lawrence.
Okay.
And I think he's only done like 2 gigs, and he's going to have some kind of wrist surgery. So we've got a sub coming in, a guy that played with Spectrum as a sub while Robert is out, basically, I guess, on maternity leave. And so this young cat named Daniel Young played with us, and I think he's going to be doing the Amber gigs until George is back online.
Okay, very cool. Nice, giving him some experience if he's a younger fella.
Yeah, he's a young guy.
Good deal.
Yeah, he was, I think he's like really young, 22 maybe, something like that.
Look at this guy. All right. So yeah, much like Spectrum, I know from a bird's eye view, I know Amber McCain is playing all the spots. I know you guys do Lafayette's a lot. Have you guys been at Neshoba?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Spectrum, you guys played Neshoba with Spectrum too, is that right?
During the big flood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drugged the bottom pan out of my car getting to that gig.
Oh, no.
I was going through some really, really deep water, and I was pretty afraid I wasn't going to make it. And then after I did clear the water, I could hear something dragging, and I went to like 2 oil change places and asked the guys to cut it off, and they said they wouldn't do it. And so I stopped and bought like a couple of tools, at some store. And then on my way to the gig, and then I found an awning, an overhang, and I crawled down under my car and ripped that thing off, threw it in the back of my car with the intention of putting it back on at some future date, but it's still hanging up in my shed.
All in the name of music. Got to make that gig.
We made it. All of us made it. I don't know how we all made it, but what was really surprising was there was a full crowd in there.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I would not have gone out. I mean, the trouble that I went through to get to that gig, I can't imagine going to see a band under that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think who was supposed to be there? I think we were there on a cancellation. Maybe Jared that canceled. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But
I love that room.
I do.
We've played there. Derrick and I have played there with Back in Time, and I've played there with Gen X, and it's just a great room, great atmosphere.
Yes, it is.
Great stage.
I played there with Jared. I played there with Amber, and I played there with Spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's a great room. I mean, I really do like it. And the crowd surprised me the first time that we played there. It looked more like a nice steakhouse to me, where town dads were out there after barbecuing with their kids, and it did not look like, then when we played a rock song or two and the audience came alive, I was like, man, I'd have never guessed it,
Yeah.
But it's like, it's different than when we were kids. When we were kids, older people did not listen to rock and roll, but now that is their music. I played at Germantown Baptist for a long time too. And somebody was asking if we were too loud. And I said, you got to remember the people that are out in the congregation with the same people that dance naked at Woodstock. They're rockers, man. They're fine.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Jared now and almost Elton. When did you jump on with him?
You know what? I think it was Tony that called me about that gig too. But then Tony ended up not doing the gig.
Okay.
Tony had called me about it, and I was playing with Spectrum, and that's really the only thing that I had going on steady. I may have still been doing the Germantown Baptist gig at that point. I can't remember, but that was kind of a surprising gig. Musically, I was kind of that music is hard to memorize, and it's definitely I thought it'd be like 1-4-5 stuff, but it's not. It's actually pretty complex and not easy. And but I said, yeah, sure. And then then Tony didn't do it. That's Walter was there by the time I came on board, and I think Steve Spears was playing bass at that time.
Okay.
Who was replaced, temporarily by Julian Wong, and then before we ever settled on a constant bass player, which is Eric, and they did. And so I came on board, and the band was a fairly new band at the time. I think Jared's origins, where he was doing a solo gig at the Hard Rock, I think. And I think Julian Sally maybe was doing the Hard Rock at that time. I'm not sure how it came to be, but somebody suggested to get Jared, if I have my history correct, which I may not, because I wasn't there, but they did the auto put a band together. So he made some phone calls, and the one thing that'll always get a guy on board with your band is you say, well, I've got gigs booked through November or whatever. And so I talked to Jared, and he was like, well, we've got a gig at Lafayette's every month and all these other gigs. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And so that's how that got started. And that band really got very good before it was all over. That band has really good intuition, like if Jared eases up, everybody just instinctively lightens their touch. They can feel it's going to get loud. They can feel where it's going to get soft. A really good live band. And that's something that you only get with experience. You can't really jump into 4 musicians that really don't know each other and have that until you've got some seasoning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after now playing with Walter, and certainly a dynamic project in terms of covering Floyd, talk about quiet and loud. Yeah. Yeah. He's a pleasure. He knows how to lead the guys to those areas.
Exactly. That's what I say. He knows how to give the cues that everybody knows are universal, and they go there. Yeah. And so that is a really good band. Now, the guy that took my place on guitar he still takes lessons with me, David Ogle. He's a young guy. I think he's 24, and I didn't want to leave Jared without a guitarist because I really can't think that there'd be people lining up to do that gig. It's first off, it's not easy. And second off, you don't really get a lot of glory as a guitar player because your role is certainly different. And so not a lot of guitar players want to work that hard for so little accolades. And
I get you could jump up on the piano and dance while you play, and
that might help. Yeah. But it was so I don't think there's a lot of people. So I found a guy that was willing to do it, and since he took lessons with me, it made the transition super easy because I could show him how to play all the songs, and that we were playing then. He's had to learn quite a few since then, and good on David Ogle, and he's a good young player. I still see him every Monday. But that band was a fun gig. I liked playing in that band, and it was definitely different than anything I had done prior to that. But I played in so many weird type of bands, not weird in a bad way, but like unusual. I played in a neo soul band for about a year, and that was unlike anything I'd ever done.
Explain what neo soul is.
Well, it would be like.
I thought he said Neil Soul. I'm thinking, who the hell is Neil Soul?
Neo soul, like new old soul. I guess that's how I would describe it.
Okay.
And it was definitely vocal and rhythm based. And the name of the band is PC Band, and man, those guys could sing. I mean, it was otherworldly how good they could sing. We were at a rehearsal one time, and Golden Girls came on. And one of the guys started singing the Golden Girls, and the other three guys instantly came in on all their perfect harmonies. Boom, just like that.
Wow.
Right out there. I mean, their vocal game is super good. And, I didn't have that kind of background. They're all from church quartets, which doesn't necessarily mean four people because it does to me, but to them it's more like a style, quartet style.
Yeah.
And it was all of their backgrounds. One of them's father was a preacher, but they were all strong in their church musicians, and the gospel tradition is definitely different than the Germantown Baptist tradition.
Ain't that the truth? I've had the pleasure of playing with a lot of gospel players, if you will, and the keyboard players are on a different planet. And the way they can kick left-hand bass is just, it's alien to me. It's so, it's so good.
It is very, very good. Yeah. And musicality is, there's so many ways to be good musically, but like on the guitar, for instance, us guitar players spend a disproportionately high amount of time working on our lead playing when we only do that for 16 bars on some songs, and really where you really are growing is when you're playing your chords. And that's, I have a fascination with chords. I love reharmonizing things. If I can, sometimes you can't get away with it. We play Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. We do it in a different key.
Okay. Yep.
It's only 4 chords, but it's one of those songs that sets up very, very well to play the chords differently every time it comes around, and pretty much every extension works. You can throw in a 9, or you can throw in a 6, or you can throw in anything, and it doesn't seem to hurt the melody. And so that's another place where people don't really pay attention. They want to hear the roaring guitar leads, but guitar players should probably concentrate on the other 98% of their playing too.
Yeah.
Eddie Van Halen's always a great example of this. They don't. You look past not only the writing of these killer riffs and the foundations of these songs, but his timing was as good and as smooth and slick as his lead playing. But
his rhythm playing was super good. I like. What was it? Beautiful Girl. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh.
Yeah, we lost sound.
Yeah, I hate that it's not cutting through well. Yeah, that's Zoom. Unfortunately, Rick, Zoom has like this auto compression, auto background removal, so the guitar doesn't cut like I was hoping it would for you.
No, it sounded like I was playing.
And Jeff, I was wondering when he was talking upper suspensions like ninths and stuff. Did you know what he meant there?
Oh, absolutely.
But
I've said it many times. I'm a drummer. I'm not a musician.
but yeah, extensions and sus chords. It's I watch a lot of Rick Beato. I credit him for really learning. As being a bass player, I should know more of those things, but it's just different. I'm playing the tonics of all these chords, so I need to know where to go if it's a minor key or but the guitar players, you guys have to know all the inversions and the sus and adds and the whole thing.
Players, for sure. The keyboard players.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why I like working with the keyboard player, like in Spectrum. I play with John Gilreath, and I like the way John plays a lot. And I would rather play. I mean, I don't even know when the last time I was in a 2-guitar band. I'm not against it. As a matter of fact, I've kind of toyed with the idea because I haven't done it so long. It might be fun. But usually 1 guitar and 1 keyboard to me works out better for what I like. Especially, when you're like Steely Dan heavy and stuff like that, you have to have a keyboard to be able to, make a facsimile of the horns and all those other things keyboard players can do.
Yeah. Oh, it just adds a lot of versatility. What I hate is when these keyboard players replace the bass players. Can we stop doing this, please?
Yeah, because in the bass, you can play all the right notes on a keyboard, but it doesn't have the same feel as a bass.
No, and I've worked with so many killer keyboard players because of working at like the Southland Casino where it's a roster of musicians. I mean, and that goes to the gospel guys. I mean, it's unworldly, but even they will say, yeah, it has a sound, especially in R&B, but it doesn't have the same feel. And they would rather play with a bass player, but it's the powers that be say, no, we want to pay you for doing 2 things. And they could pull it off so wonderfully. But, every keyboard player that I've met that can do great key bass, they are pro bass. It's just sometimes a money thing, so which is unfortunate, but
make it work.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been fascinating. Great to, get to know you, Rick. Someone that if we were in the studio, it would be another example of meeting you for the first time in the studio, which happens so much in the last few years. But I hope those that are watching and listening that may not, are learning of Rick too. Look, check out his bands, his projects. He's out there. Do you from time to time ever sub out or get subbed into Almost Elton? Are you still doing some spot work with him?
I may do a gig for him this summer. I think David's going to be out. Cool. And if it's feasible, if I can make it work, and if David does go out, that's not set in stone yet either. No. But I make myself available when I can. Cool. But I have to give myself a fair amount of lead-in time. I can't do it on the spur of the moment because I have to go back and relearn all the songs, plus any of the songs that he's added during that interim. Yeah. Like I said, what's the song? Philadelphia Freedom. Okay, sounds easy. We've all heard it on the radio. There's like 15 chords in that song. And Elton John does some really unusual things musically. Like he'll use a major and a minor of the same note, sometimes even in the same section. Like he'll go C, B flat, C minor, E flat, something like that. But like one time it's major and the next time it's minor, and that's I don't think I've ever known anybody to do that. The Beatles sometimes will do like they might, if you're in the key of C, they might play an F to an F minor, and that's kind of common in some, but like Elton John's compositional style is unlike anything that I had run across. He doesn't use a lot. It's not like Steely Dan uses a lot of, flat 9, sharp 13s or whatever, all these, big fancy, those kind of, that kind of thing. But Elton doesn't do a lot of that, but he uses a lot of chords. Yeah. And he'll occasionally use a diminished or an augmented, but mostly it's just a bunch of whatever he's doing. Yeah. And I think it's because piano players, they've got their hands going and they can just do this constant movement while they're playing. Well, each one of those movements is a different chord. Yeah. And as a guitar player, you don't necessarily do all that. I noticed that when I played with Jared, most of the time I was playing with the snare drum on a lot of things, because the piano was so dominant in there that I'd hear like the chords are popping on the 2 and the 4, like right where the snare should be. And that was a lot of what was going on there, except, in different kinds of songs. Of course, Jared covers a pretty wide range, and Elton John songs, you got Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding, That's like prog. And then you've got Benny and the Jets, which Crocodile Rock, which definitely has a 1950s flair. I think it's 1-6-4-5 type progressions that are very, very 50s.
Yeah.
And so it's a bunch of stuff, it's a bunch of stuff. So it's fun. And but it is a lot of effort to do it.
Yeah.
That song sounds so 50s that I didn't even realize that was Elton John until after hearing the song a lot of times.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think every song in the 50s followed. I mean, that progression is like a million songs. Who Put the Bop in the Bop, Shabop, Shabop, Last Kiss, Book of Love, and then I think Unchained Melody probably does it too, but it does it in 6 instead of 4. But that is the sound of the 50s without a doubt.
Yeah.
Well, look, not to bury everyone in more weeds here, but going back to Southland Casino, I got a shift to work for this guy. His name is Gunnar Sansom, and he's a Jerry Lee Lewis tribute guy, but mix in some Elvis and some other artists of that era. But think of Jerry Lee Lewis's piano playing, right? And all the songs of that style. Plus, I mean, the majority of the night is Jerry Lee Lewis, all the album cuts and everything. So I go into this thinking, I got the list and I'm trying to pull some charts, and I'm like, but look, these are 3-4 chord songs. I got this.
Yeah.
No, it's deceiving because you just, like, when does it go to the 4 chord? Oh, there's a 2 bar in this chorus. And, of course, here comes the bridge. I can either go to the 2 or the 6 or where we go, and I got schooled, and then for the next time I got to play with that guy, I made sure I had my homework done more.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a ticket is having enough out time to be able to prepare. Yeah. That's what it requires me. I hate doing things spur of the moment because, like you said, I can get surprised in there and that indecision and leads to wrong notes. And I'd rather not do the gig if they don't give me enough time to learn it.
Yeah. So, luckily, when I had to learn, 25 Pink Floyd songs where, you got Shine on Your Crazy Diamond, that's a 15-minute song. I benefited from having a broken leg and just having nothing but time at home to dig these songs, goodness, but the experience of like what you experienced with Almost Elton, I'm fortunate to have it with Pulse. And then along with Jeff, all this Huey Lewis stuff that we're doing, man, it's the first time I've ever been in opportunities to learn a whole catalog of one artist or one band. And it's great. Like you get to dig in, you're diving into this world. My first experience with that was Tina Turner when I was with the Tina Turner show for a hot minute. Eye opening. You're like, oh, wow. I didn't realize this song was that great. And then you start learning some more deeper cuts and learning, coming to know music that you'd never heard before. Like I didn't know Tina Turner's catalog. You Simply the Best and Proud Mary and her hits a little bit. But when you get the deep dive like that, what a great learning experience. So I'm sure this Elton stuff, after all these years, you were learning new things.
Oh, yeah. I'd never heard of a lot of the songs. He did do a few deep cuts. One of them was called Grow Some Funk of Your Own. And I liked playing that song. That was a great song. But there were definitely, he covers all the hits, but he also, does some of the deep cuts and that I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
All the big, of course, I heard because they were all over the radio back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, look, we're going to have to wrap this up. Rick, thank you so much for spending the time with us. Say hi to your bird for us. What's your bird's name again?
Chase. And Chase is being quiet now. I guess he's eating or something.
or the cat ate him.
Yeah,
I don't know.
One of the two.
I haven't seen the cat come through, so I think the bird's safe.
You might need to check on Chase when we wrap up. But well, very cool. Check Spectrum and Amber McCain. They're both on socials. Go follow them. And then you'll know when they're playing, where they're playing. Good luck to you, Rick. Pleasure again to talk with you. And
man,
we'll see you around. And to those watching and listening, again, thanks so much for hanging out with us. This is the Rhythm Section of Memphis Music Podcast, the rhythmsectionpod.com. It's the place to go. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, all the places. And Jeff, as always, thank you for being you.
Yeah, man. I can't help it.
All right, everybody.
Rick, thanks for doing this, Rick.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Take care, everybody.
See, baby,